Can you hear me? Yeah, you can. Right away, Oreo Bites like, play me a song. I don't see any dropped frames. That's good news. All right, that's the quality that we've come to expect. And also, the good news is that all the stuff we were doing is still here because I had that on the remote desktop on the jump box. So, okay. Not too bad. Apologies for that. Okay, Oreo Bite has redeemed Play Me a Song. So I guess we're going to do that before we do anything else. And let's see, I'm at 102. Okay. Turn the canvas up. All right, let's do this. I don't know why, but I was like totally unprepared for a song tonight. But that's okay. We may have to do a repeat, if that's okay. Is the piano sounding okay, everybody? Seems like it's okay. All right. So this song is called Eve is the Apple of My Eye. I want it back. You left it, I said it. I want it back. If I had you here, I'd clip your wings, snap you up, then leave you sprawling on my pen. This plan of mine is old, so very lame, but can't you see the grass is greener where it rains? You left, I died, I went and you cried. You came, I think, but I never really know. I've served my time, I've watched you climb the wrong incline, but what do I know? Accept it and let it turn the screw. Accept it and let it scream back at you. Now this applies both equally to you and I. The only thing we share is the same sky. These empty metaphors, they're all in vain. Like, can't you see the grass is greener where it rains? You left, I died, I went and you
cry. You came, I think, but I never really know. And I served my time, I've watched you climb the wrong incline, but what do I know? But what do I know? In the garden a snake was charming. Eve said, let's give it a try. Lead us not into temptation, but no matter how hard I try. In the garden a snake was charming. Eve said, let's give it a try. And Eve is the apple of my eye, and I lie behind you, and I cradle you in the palm of me, and I pat your hair down, and I think, will we sink or swim? Could do either on a whim. In the garden a snake was charming, and Eve said, let's give it a try. Lead us not into temptation, but no matter how hard I try. In the garden a snake was charming. Eve said, let's give it a try. Eve is the apple of my eye.
Okay. For those of you just joining us, this is in fact a tech stream. We don't always play the piano here. All right, so no dropped frames. Very happy about that. We are going to stand up our Mastodon instance in our lab. Now we're going to use the Docker Compose file, hopefully, to make this happen. We were just looking at the services that go into making this happen. So we know we have Ruby on Rails. We have this streaming component, which apparently is a node component. And that would make sense. Anything that's like WebSockets or something like that, that may be what's going on there. And then Sidekick. Now, if you're not familiar with Sidekick, and admittedly I wasn't before I started looking into this, it is background processing for Ruby. And in fact, if you are on Mastodon, if you've joined some of the InfoSec folks over on infosec.exchange, you may have seen Jerry talking about how Sidekick has been killing him, in that you need to have a certain number of threads running to do this background processing, to do cleanup and things like that. That's what Sidekick is doing, and it's largely what takes up the resources when you're running a service like Mastodon. And it's unfortunate, right? Because you are at the mercy of the interpreted language Ruby, right? So you already have a performance tax that you're paying for that. I'm hopeful that we're going to soon see implementations of this technology in maybe Rust, something that is faster, right? Something that is a little bit more computationally efficient than Ruby, so that you can handle the load on a server a little bit more easily than what we're dealing with right now. Okay, but that's obviously the next part of this, we have another aspect which we are not going to enable, which is federation to Tor, which you can do, but we're not going to do that. And then we just have the network configuration. So this is, as far as I can tell, everything that we need to stand up an instance. And then after it's up, presumably we're going to have to do something else to get it, running. That is what I know so far. Now, the Mastodon documentation is pretty good. Right? Where we set up these things. But I want to kind of try to fire this up from Docker Compose right away and just see what we can do right off the bat. That is my hope. And in fact, if we go to the... Yeah, it's all kind of in the documentation. There's no like install. But there is a standalone installation guide, which is where we were, basically. Yeah. It doesn't specifically call out a Docker procedure, so I guess the idea is that you can figure that out yourself. But I believe that we're in good shape here. Okay, so first things first, we got to stand up a Docker host. That's our first objective. You can do it manually. But we have the DevOps power of the lab ready to go here. And so what I want to do is I want to do it with Terraform. To do that, let's talk about what we have going on for Terraform. There we go. So first, Terraform is a technology to provision cloud assets. And we have this configured to work with our Proxmox host. We have created an API key, and we have given it the proper permissions, and we've even configured it to have those permissions, we've even configured our shell environment to have those as environment variables, which is necessary to make this work. So I'm starting in Terraform. Yeah, relax, Lopta. I zoomed it in. Tiny text. Thank you for that. Having never streamed before, it's important for me to know that my text was small. Okay, so we have the Terraform file, but the first thing we need to do is run Terraform init to get the provider, the Proxmox provider. Ooh, and in fact, we need to change this up because there's a new version of the Proxmox provider. So 2.9.11. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is run alias tf equals Terraform, because Terraform is a really long word, and I don't want to type it. So we'll do tf init inside here. And so we're going to go grab that Terraform provider. And if we take a look at what we're developing here, right, we have a Mastodon thing, 2 cores, 4 gigs of RAM. We could kick that up if we wanted. In fact, I will, because we're dealing with Ruby. 4 cores, and let's give it 8192, so 8 gigs of RAM. The name is going to be Mastodon. It's based on Ubuntu 2204. And then 50 gigs of storage. I'm going to kick that to 80. And we're giving it a single network interface in our lab network interface, and that should be fine. That will pick up an IP address from our router, and we are going to record that IP because Proxmox is going to report it out. Once we have that IP address, we will add it to our etc host file on the jump box so that Ansible can take advantage of it. So right off the bat, we're ready to go. TF apply. Well, let's run TF plan just to make sure I didn't do anything stupid. Looks good. So we'll do TF apply, auto approve, which honestly takes longer to type than just yes. But whatever. Okay. And again, as I said, we have all of our environment variables set up. I put those in my fish config. So they're set as soon as I start the machine when I log in. If we go over to Starbase, we can see that Mastodon is up. Could alias that too. Yeah, so Cheeto, you're right. I could. I tend not to like to alias too many commands. And the reason being is that I don't want them... I have to strike this balance between efficiency and clarity for teaching. And so yes, I absolutely could alias them, but then the more aliases I make that are just me, the less generalizable what I'm doing is to other folks. Okay, that's coming up. So while that's coming up, it won't take too long. While that's coming up, let's talk a little bit about what Ansible is going to do. So Ansible is going to configure, not the Elk stack, but it is going to configure the Docker right here. And one of the things that you want to do, this is essentially step-by-step in Ansible how you install Docker. And this is, if you look at the Docker documentation, it is verbatim what this is. It's just Ansible-ified. So we have, we set up we confirm the prereqs. They're all going to be there, but we do it just in case with apt. Now this part is different, and it's different in a really important way. If you look at how to do this, if you look this up inside of like Ansible documentation, it'll tell you use the Ansible built-in apt key. That is wrong. Don't do it. Hey, G-rated, Mean Machine Rex, thank you so much for those follows. Yeah, do not use Ansible built-in apt key because apt key add has been deprecated. It's been driving me crazy for a bunch of install instructions in Ubuntu and Debian. Do not use it. You have to manually put the de-armored GPG key into a location, either user share or Etsy apt keyrings, and save it as a GPG file. And then that's the next part. So first of all, do not use apt key add. We're doing a manual download of the GPG key for Docker's repository. Notice that we're piping it to sudo gpg -dearmor, and the output file is Etsy apt keyrings docker.gp. I actually shouldn't need the sudo here because I think I'm root, but whatever. And that creates this file in Etsy apt keyrings. Go Lightly, thank you so much for that follow. Now we can add the Docker repo, and this is the part that is critical and that is different from what you may see in older instructions. So the line that we're going to add to Docker, Etsy apt sources.list.d is this deb, because it's a Debian repository. And then check this out. Signed by Etsy apt keyrings docker.gpg. If this isn't here, it will fail. And then we're going to go download docker.com/linux/ubuntu. And then I'm using an Ansible fact, the Ansible distribution release, which would be Focal or Jammy, okay, for 2004 or 22.04 respectively, stable. The file name is called Docker, and that's what tells Ansible to put it in Etsy apt sources.list.d /docker.list. Make sure that the state is present. And now, finally, that we have our repositories configured, we go ahead and run apt update, which is what this update cache situation is here. And we're going to install the 4 Docker components that we need. One, the Docker Community Edition, that's Docker CE, the CLI to interface with it, containerd.io, which is the container runtime, and the Docker Compose plugin, which is also new-ish. If you haven't installed Docker in a minute, that is new. So it used to be the case that you'd have to go get a separate Python script right from Docker and install it, and it was docker-compose. That is no longer true. Now, Docker Compose is a built-in command, the same way as Docker image, Docker container, Docker network, whatever. Now, Docker Compose is a sub-command of the Docker command that you're installing already. And then the last bit I do here, not the best idea in production, but we're adding the seclab user to the Docker group so that when I SSH into it, I just have Docker commands without having to use sudo all the time. Very, very bad idea in production, but I do it all the time in the lab just for creature comfort. Take a look at our machine. It looks like we're up and running. And let's go over to our Terraform window. And sure enough, it has reported an IP address to us. Wonderful. So we're going to take that IP address And we're going to sudo vim etc hosts. Awesome. And I'm going to take that IP address and just call it seclab. No, I'm just going to call it Mastodon, I think. Yeah. Okay. Now that I've called it Mastodon, not only can I SSH into it easily, right? I SSH seclab at Mastodon. Looks good. And I'll SSH copy ID over there. Awesome. So not only can I SSH into it, but that means that Ansible can work with it. If we look at our inventory.yaml, I have a Linux hosts group, and I've added Mastodon to it already. And so now we're ready to use Ansible playbooks with Mastodon and any other Linux stuff that I want to set up. So I'm going to give it the Docker role with Linux hosts here. So easy days. We're going to go over to Ansible, and I think this will work for now. We're going to do Ansible playbook. Yep. inventory, and then we're going to run -l to limit to Mastodon, saying we're only running this against the Mastodon host. And then we're going to run the docker.yaml playbook. So Ansible's going to go ahead and install that for us while we talk about what it takes to install a Docker service. You can do it with Ansible. We can do it with just straight up Docker Compose too by SSHing it into it. But you can also do it with Ansible, which is kind of cool, I think. Yeah. You have to install it, I believe, with Ansible Galaxy. Maybe not. Yeah, because there's a Docker Compose module. Yes, you do have to install it with Ansible Galaxy. I wasn't crazy. We can do that. Thank you, Tmux. Thank you for being you. Right, so for those of you who are just joining us, what we're doing is we are setting up a Mastodon server, and then we are hopefully going to be able to attack it with a web app pen testing methodology. Okay. Awesome. And let's see what else we want. Collection index. I want Ansible.builtin. I think there's a Git as well. And the reason why we want that is, yes, perfect. Okay, so we're going to basically write the playbook to install Mastodon. What's the web backend written in? Yeah, so it's Rails, SAR. Is what the Mastodon app is built in. Not every ActivityPub thing is going to be based on that. And in fact, thank you for that segue. Thank you for that reminder. Before we go too crazy into the nuts and bolts of building this thing, I do want to take a step back and talk a little bit about the fact that this federated social technology is built on open standards. In particular, it's built on something called ActivityPub. And ActivityPub is a W3C standard, which I think is kind of cool, right? It's open from soup to nuts. The very protocol that it's based on is an open standard. And that is why is it fedi.space? Is that right? I hope so. No. I wrote out this whole explainer and I forget the Fediverse.space? That's the one. So it's not just Mastodon, right? There are other services like PixelFed, which is sort of an Instagram-like photo sharing service. There is Pleroma. There is Rendica. There's Misskey. There's a Funk Whale as well, which is like Spotify, but with shared music from all the users, which I think is kind of a really cool idea. And kind of zoom in and see the relationships to see who's federating with whom, right? There you go. There are the links between everybody. Anyway, the point is open standard, and in fact, we may have cause to take a look at the ActivityPub spec as we dive into this, because it is kind of cool to see that it is how it's built and how it works. It's all what is it? JSON LD? Right. JSON linked data is the way that works. And so it's all simple HTTP requests under the hood. And I really like that all of this is so well documented and defined here. And this is the standard to which all of the ActivityPub using services like Mastodon have to adhere if they want to federate. And it also can be extended, right? That's kind of what it's saying here, is that you can extend it with JSON LD. Okay. So steps in order to build this, we need to grab the Mastodon Git repo, right? And then we need to run the Docker Compose file. And that's kind of like it, right? So let's make a new... we'll start it as a role, as a playbook, I think. And then later we can make it a role. So make a new file here, and we'll call it mastodon.yaml. And we can kind of use the docker.yaml as a base here. You see how it is roles, which is part of what we want. So we make a Mastodon host. So we know that the roles are going to be Docker, and then tasks, right? The first one is going to be name and get the Mastodon repo. And that's going to be ansible.builtin.git. Thank you to the Ansible extension for VS Code for helping me out with that. Now you might think, Taggart, why are you doing it this weird Ansible way? Why aren't you just entering commands into the server? Because I want this to be reproducible, right? I never want to be the cowboy sysadmin. You know what I mean? Like, those are people who are really bad for your organization, who have all the knowledge and can do the thing, like can get the thing to work, but then never share it with anybody. That's super dangerous. Not only because what if they get hit by a bus, but because that is a form of power hoarding. It's a power dynamic where that person has power over the rest of the organization, and that's not healthy. So instead, we build a process that self-documents and is immediately reproducible by anybody who knows how to do this one thing, which is Ansible. Right, so git, we're going to do a clone. And the repo is the key that we need here. So repo, and we'll just go grab this right here. Awesome. And dest. Right. We're going to put it in Mastodon here, like so. And I think that will work. Now we will do name spin up Mastodon services. And this is going to be Ansible.community, I believe. .docker. We should just go find it because we had it, right? Yes, this. Ansible community.docker docker compose. And we're going to point it to the right place. Presumably. Where's the path? This is like a whole compose file in here. I don't need that. Now, if we look at the Docker Compose file, is there anything that we have to build? Not really. Not that I'm seeing, because we don't see a build directive. Oh, nope, there it is. Okay, so we do have some builds to do. All right, so we're going to build, yes. But then what else are we doing? Because we need a path. A project source. Okay, so that's the next key. So project source, home, seclab, Mastodon. Exactly right. And then state is present. State is present. Return. Yep, looks good. I think that might be all we need, honestly. And we'll set this to just use the Mastodon host. Because why would we put it against anything else? All right. So Ansible playbook, mastodon.yml. It's not Ansible.community. I believe it's just community dot. Okay. So because we gave it the role of Docker, now next time we run this playbook, it'll just do this. Wait, so are these installing to Docker containers directly on the hypervisor or a VM on Proxmox? That's a good question. So this is a virtual machine that we just spun up, Cheeto, that's serving as our Docker host. Proxmox can do Podman containers, but it cannot do compose files. And so that's why we set up a VM that serves as our host here. Uh-oh. Okay, so no module named Docker. Oh, that's really funny. Okay, so the reason that failed is because the Python installation on our host doesn't have the Docker module. And so we actually need another step. Name install Docker Python module. And this is ansible.builtin.pip for sure. I know this one. Am I crazy or did the colors change while we were working with this? Weren't these blue before? Okay, whatever. Ansible.builtin.pip. And the thing is that all these different modules use different keys for like the package name. Name, right? So in this case, name Docker. Once more. Camera's focus is crazy bad. Never trust autofocus. There we go. Unable to find any of pip3 to use. Ah, in that case, we will have to make sure that it is installed. And here we'll do Ansible .builtin.apt. Python 3 pip. So this is a little bit different than YOLOing it on the command line, right? You're making sure step by step everything works. There we go. So it's making sure that pip is installed. And then we can install the Docker pip module. And then hopefully we can get Docker Compose going. What? Ah. How's everybody's week going? Uh-oh. All right. Let's see. Unable to load Docker Compose, try pip install Docker Compose. Oh, hilarious. Hilarious. Okay. So the reason that's happening is because the Docker Compose module is still trying to use the old Docker-Compose as opposed to Docker Compose. So I think we might have to cheat this a little bit here. Yeah. This is very funny. We're going to use the shell raw to make the alias. That's dumb that we have to do that. Name. Alias. Docker compose to Docker compose. Ansible.builtin.shell. And then the command is going to be alias Docker compose equals Docker compose. I'm worried those quotes are going to mess me up. I don't think they will, though. Dang it. Unable to load Docker Compose. No module named Compose. Oh, interesting. No module. The Python module isn't there. That's fascinating. Okay. I think we've reached an endpoint for what we can do with Ansible at the moment, and I don't want to waste too much time on it. So, nope, wrong place. We're going to just SSH to Mastodon and run it ourselves. Because I'm much more interested in getting to the actual meat and potatoes of what we want to do. Okay. Docker compose. And let's just confirm that I have Docker powers. I do. Docker compose up. -D. Ooh, no such file or directory for env.production. So we've learned something. There is, there's no env.production. So we have to set some of this up. Right? So these are the things they don't tell you. For convenience, it can be read from a flat file called env.production in a master directory. Call it .env file. Okay, so these are the things that we need to set. .env.production. I don't suppose they'd be so kind as to give us a sample. They do. Wonderful. All right, let's copy .env.production.sample. Okay. So this is all the stuff that we need to set up, right? Local domain is example.com. Yeah, whatever. We'll call it 0day.local. That's the domain I usually use. The Redis host localhost, that's all fine. This is all fine. The DB pass. Can we leave it blank? Let's make it Mastodon just in case. Fine. This is mail. I'm not setting up mail just yet. File storage. S3 enabled is false for now because I don't have any AWS stuff I want to give to it. That looks good. Okay, so one more time. Docker compose up -D. All right. Now we're building. Let's see if I can get my Kali machine back. What happened to it? What's up, buddy? Ooh. That's different. There we go. And we've got Homeland up, which is how I'm already peeing into it, and Lab is good. And okay. See, apt install Y QEMU guest agent. I knew I forgot to do something. By the way, the Kali machine that we'll be using was set up entirely with the PWST setup script. So, if you're interested. And by the way, if you are in the Fediverse, if you're on Mastodon, you follow me, you can find a 90% discount on PWST. So that's a $30 course, which you get for $3. Not too shabby. Okay. Don't know what happened to this before. Although, just in case. Yeah. Doesn't. I'm not locking this. It's my VM. Back to the jump box. How are we doing? Doing okay? How is this thing doing as far as resource consumption? Okay. So some, but not all. We're cooking it around 5.5 gigs. And CPU work, but it's not over much. It's looking pretty good so far. I should mention that if you are interested in doing this as well, and if we have to, we'll kind of default to this. Alex Stamos of the Krebs Stamos group has stood up cybervillains.com, I believe. Yes, cybervillains.com. And the entire point of this Mastodon instance is for you to hack it. That's its job. So if we need to, we'll use this. But I really wanted to see what it takes to stand up one of these servers, and what it takes to administer them. Because administering them is a whole other thing, right? Because there's an admin CLI for Mastodon, right? For accounts and cache and domains. tootctl is the command line interface, which is honestly just fantastic. Oh, that's cool. By the way, I don't actually want to run my own of one of these. It seems like a major hassle. I'm very happy to donate money to the Fostodon admins so that I don't have to do this. But I do want to know what goes into it so that, one, I understand it, and two, I can attack it. That's how I show my love. That doesn't sound healthy. But from a security standpoint, it actually is. I may create an account on Cybervillains right now. Or their accounts without their permission. If you do have permission, have fun. Right. So there is a disclosure. Right. I'll set up an account here just in case. You know what? How many CVs does this have already? That's a good question. Am I crazy, or is there a CV? There's like a specific, I guess, CVE details. Yeah, there it is. Mastodon. So not a lot. 3 in 2022 though. Incorrect access control because it does not compact incoming signed JSON linked data. Allows a bypass of email restrictions in Mastodon before 3.5. And just in case you were curious, what version are we on? We're at 3.5.3, so these aren't like unrecent. We're 3.5. Okay. So a 5, a 7.5, and a 4.3. Prototype pollution. That's interesting. But I do think that this hasn't been hammered the way that it needs to be. I believe that to be true. So we're going to do something about that. I'm gonna set up the Cybervillains account off screen. I wonder if this will even get... I need to get the confirmation email. I wonder if that'll even show up. By the way, something else I need to do on stream at some point is I actually got into the Kaido beta. Is that not right? I got into the Kaido beta, and I haven't had a chance to play with it too much yet. But I'm really excited about it. And so... we'll have to show that off at some point soon. Where's my confirmation email? I bet Cybervillains is getting hammered right now, too. Or it went right to my junk mail. Yep, there it is. I don't know why Google would think that cybervillains.com is in fact spam. There we go. And now a cybervillains.com account while this thing is still building. Yeah, I'll follow Alex Stamos. Taylor Lorenz. Oh, and all the things is on here. Matt Gertz. No, wait. These are federated. I was like, there's no way that all these people have cybervillains.com accounts. Fine. Hey, listener. Yeah, let's see what the home feed looks like. This is the social network I'm here for. Now, come on. We can do better than just guessing about this. Like, for sure, these basic cross sites are not going to work out. For one thing, Rails has that sorted. But for another, here's how you can make sure, like, right away that that's not going to be a thing. You don't even have to open up Zap for this. Just in your dev tools. No showing notifications. Just in your dev tools, right? If you just go here and you go to the response headers, right? You can see, God, that's so small for you all. You can see in the content security policy what is up. So script source self, and there's unsafe eval. So there's eval somewhere. Interesting. But script source self, not script source inline. Okay. Which means none of this junk would work, even if it were rendered properly as a tag. But it's also not, right? Because if we look at this in the inspector, it's a text node. Right, it's not being rendered as HTML. It's a text node, and it's getting created correctly as a text node. So there's no possibility there. I mean, definitely test it, right? But the content security policy tells all. Take your time, Docker. You could have a library of test toots that you could use in a DevOps pipeline. You could, but you shouldn't have to. I mean, definitely fuzz that, but that kind of thing, again, if you want to do a test like that, what you want to test is the rendering function, right? So you should have a unit test that, that's a pre-deployment test, right? You want to make sure that that thing only generates a test node, or a text node, and then after that, maybe test the CSP. The thing that kind of drives me crazy about cross-site scripting is that it isn't actually difficult to protect against. It isn't. The trick is, for one, there are a lot of frameworks that make it harder than it should be. I was looking at the user registration when an instance isn't accepting new members. So was I. at on hackers.town. Because I literally thought hackers.town is the Cult of the Dead Cow instance. And I wasn't familiar with what it looks like. when it's not accepting new registration, because you can have a custom message here. And I was like, oh, this is like Hack the Box. They want me to have to try to get rid of this. So I went in, right? And this isn't a vulnerability. So I just went in. I was like, no. Right? Like, get rid of that entirely. Or, like, set it to display none. Ooh, I did the wrong one. That's the area blurred. First of all, take that class off. Right? And then... this is the overlay area. That's the overlay we want. We want that gone. Display. None. Yeah, I was like, ah, cool. I'm in. And then I was like, I was testing to see if disabling or removing the disabled attribute would do anything. But no, it's disabled on the back end. Like, you can do whatever you want on the front end. It'll be like, no, you can't do this. Yeah, because this is not accepting new members. Right? So even if you do this, though, when you're doing a web app pen test, definitely do that. Mess with the stuff just to make sure that it isn't just a front-end protection. Because sometimes it is just a front-end protection. But meanwhile, back on cybervillains, this is still building. Oh, right now, because I'm following people. All these politics tweets. Where's the content warning? That's just bad etiquette. It's a thing on Mastodon when you do anything that might be controversial that you do a content warning so people can choose whether or not to read it, which I think is polite. Okay. Forget this. We're gonna wait for the Mastodon instance to build, but I'm getting anxious. I wanna hack something, so we're gonna fire up Zap and we're gonna go to cybervillains.com, and we'll go after that as our target first, since they're letting us do it. Let me know if the text is too small. I'm sure you will. Okay, Zap is coming up. 2.12. You donated to hackers.com. So, I have to say, I kind of hate that. Like, I get not wanting to accept new members for load reasons. The exclusive hacker club thing, just miss me with that. That's not what I'm about. I think it's more than doubled in the last 2 weeks, Cheeto. Yeah, that's... And even, to be honest with you, like... I follow a lot of people on infosec.exchange, but I myself will not, unless I'm forced to for some reason, go to infosec.exchange. Not only do I don't like the cool hacker club thing that was going on Twitter anyway. I never liked that. It never felt comfortable to me that there was just like this group of high follower people who were like, we're gonna be us, and like everyone kind of, there becomes this cult of personality around it. That never felt correct as a way of engaging. And what you generate then is like this weird parasocial relationship with them. No, none of that, please. In the better internet that we're trying to build. So I'm over on Fostodon, not only because I don't want to kind of contribute to that again, but also because one of the cool things about the Federation is that I get to see other kinds of people, right? And with the Fostodon server, I'm exposed to developers from different walks of life. They're not all security people. They're doing all sorts of different stuff. There are a lot of scientists on there who write, like data science code. There are a lot of networking people on there. So I get to see people who are impacted by security, but don't necessarily live and breathe it every day, which means that I like to think that it gives me a broader perspective on the work that I'm doing. And I can follow all the infosec.exchange people I want, right? Like I can still follow them, but the serendipity of having those other people in my local feed really helps me. They see my content and I see theirs, and we engage. I have to tell you, most of the people that I engage with every day on Mastodon are not from infosec.exchange. A lot of those people are following me, but the people who actually comment on my stuff and engage with me are from Fostodon. And it's a little bit more of an established server. It's been around for longer. And so I really like the vibe there. I learned a lot from the people there about how to be a good fedizen, if you'll pardon the expression. All right, we'll spin up our pen test profile here. We will connect to our proxy, and we will go to cybervillains.com. Sorry, rookie mistake. I forgot to install the cert. These moved to network service certificates. Okay, good to know. 2.12 is a whole thing. Okay, we'll save that out. You don't like the Fed? I mean, the interest rate game is upsetting, for sure. No, what's going on, Cheeto, is that my proxy Zap, I have to install the root CA for Zap in here. There we go. Now we're good. Much better. Okay. So, okay, we're getting some data. Jesus. That is a lot of JavaScript. Okay, we can leave off the HTTP because that was just a redirect. Okay. So, first things first. You haven't made it to the Zap section PWT? That's like the whole course, listener. That's like the meat and potatoes of what we do. Okay. So, discovery and enumeration. Discovery and enumeration. We have the sites that we've been given. We're going to get that Brave sync thing out of there. Exclude from the proxy. This is a brand new machine, by the way, so all of my defaults are not yet configured. There's a wildcard directive in the content security policy. Where? I don't see an asterisk in here, do you? The CSP looks okay to me. I literally cannot see it. if it's there. Huh. There we go. All right. The following directives either allow wildcard sources, are not defined, or overly broadly defined. Image source, frame source, media source, form action. Is that true? Image source self. HTTPS, data, blob. Cybervillains.com. No, it's fine. Frame source. I wonder if frame source isn't defined. That's usually what it is. Oh, nope, there it is. Self HTTPS. Media source. And form action. Those might be it. Okay. Those are not super serious findings, but it's good to understand what that is. Okay. So first thing, let's fire up Ferox Buster. And L10 T10 UHTTPS cybervillains.com. Oh god. CD scripts. I have to install sec lists. Or do I? Yes. Clone. GitHub.com. Daniel Miesler. Seclists. Okay. Yeah, I wanna actually have the word lists that I trust before we fire off Ferox Buster. So, one of the cool things about Ruby on Rails is that it is server-side rendered, kind of. We also have React up in the mix. So that means that some of what we see won't be able to be seen by Zap. But it also means that I need to install React DevTools, which, why isn't it here? Those should be there. Excellent. Do I have to close this and reopen it to get the DevTools? If it is React, I should see... Yes, very good. These are the components that React is made out of, or that React is making in here. So this shows me how the UI is put together, but it also shows me how the data is stored, and that is of use. There's the app. It's been webpacked. Do I have source map. I do. Yes, 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 yes. So obviously it's open source. We can just go look at this, but this is, if you have source maps that are deployed, then you can use the Chrome inspector to actually check out the pre-transpiled React code. So remember that this code that you're looking at is not exactly what the application is running off of, right? What it's running off of for real is, these bundled JavaScript files. And in fact, if we look at this, it's, this is React code, and there's JSX, meaning there's HTML interspersed with the JavaScript. That's the sort of the React secret sauce in how you build a React application. But the thing is that this code doesn't get read natively by the browser. It kind of can these days, but what actually happens when you deploy your app is that all of that gets transpiled down into an older JavaScript standard, ECMAScript 2015, I think. No. ES5, ECMAScript 5, so that all browsers can support it, basically. And that's why you see these hot messes of JavaScript that are minified and bundled here. That's what all that is the result of that transpilation. But when there's a source map here, you can actually see what the source is. And that's very handy because, for one thing, not only can you read it, but you can also breakpoint it. Which is kind of fun. How's my Docker instance going? Ooh, it's up. Or is it? Because this is up, and it's unhealthy. The Toot Suite streaming. These are up and they're healthy. Okay. Starting. And restarting. So something's going very wrong here. Fun. It's a Ruby error. Booting Puma. Validate secret key. Ah, I see what happened. I tried to skip a step. Yeah. Make sure to use rake secret to generate secrets. But none of that should need to happen if I'm using Docker Compose, right? The whole point is that I don't need to do that. The good news is I don't have to build these anymore. Those are still not working. Unless it is one of those. Okay, so these are healthy. Six seconds? Ah. Oh my god, what an error. Could not connect to server. Oh, this might actually still be good. Or not. The Redis host. Oh, that's wrong. The Redis host is not localhost. The Redis host is, I think it's just called Redis, right? And the DB host is also var run Postgres. Yeah, it should be called DB. Right? The DB host is DB. Boy, that's weird and wrong for some reason. Right. And Redis was called what? It was called Redis. Okay. Can't wait to find out what else is wrong. I think that the Docker Compose setup is not good for this. And that probably you would want to actually do this step by step, right? Yeah, I think that's right. It's actually not that many steps either. But okay. One more check. This is looking like the same problem. Oh no, this is different. Different problem. That's progress, right? Different failure. Role Mastodon does not exist. Postgres 14. barlib postgres SQL. I'm tired of that problem. Okay. Huh. So it's basically loading up a snapshot Postgres database from this folder. That is interesting. Now it says, hey, Mr. Faraday. Now it says could not open file global PG file node.map permission denied. Active record connection not established. Ooh, I wonder if actually the chmod would fix that. Sorry, I don't, the sysadmin in me doesn't like having a system that's supposed to work not work. And then we'll get over to hacking cybervillains if this one fails. Well, that's the longest we've ever seen. Up there we go. I was like, that's the longest we've ever seen the web server up. Now, it could very well be that the server is going to restart and restart and restart until the database is up and running, which is what you would expect, right? And the DB is still... Okay, so the DB is healthy, apparently. Yeah. Okay. It is what it is. I will bring one of these up, but I think I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to do it manually rather than with Docker. But we are interested in attacking this thing. So, to do so, first of all, we're going to run some enumeration on this. Cybervillains.com. Word list is going to be scripts, sec lists, discovery, content, directory, list, 2.3, medium. Actually, I want lowercase, 2.3 medium. There we go. Limit of 10, thread 10. What else do I want? Oh, I want to not recurse for now. And I also want burp replay. And I'm also going to give it a set of status codes of 200 and basically 200. And that's kind of it, I think, for options. Well, I think it's... Yes. O for output. We'll call it feroxbuster.txt. Excellent. So things that we know about, right? And what's cool is that burp replay is doing something really handy for us. Check this out. If we go to history, it's putting all of those into our Zap history right away. Boy, do I not need any of these. I don't need G static. All of these can go. All right, so any of the things that we find, privacy policy, start lists, blocks, bookmarks, explore, things that we wouldn't necessarily think are too odd, but we want to make sure that there's nothing else hiding in here. Right. Now, let's create a toot while we are waiting. I need to sign in. Yeah, let me copy the password here. Okay. I am curious what kind of cookies this thing stores. We have a Mastodon session and a session ID. The Mastodon session appears to have a lot of data in it, but I have no... It is... Okay, so it is definitely base 64. So we'll go to CyberChef and play with this a little bit. What is a Mastodon session made of? First thing is we'll do URL decode. Okay. So now what? Now what do we have? We have these dashes, which is interesting, but we also have... Okay. So we'll get rid of this dash part, and then we'll just do from base 64 here. So that's just garbage, right? Maybe it's serialized, but I tend to doubt it. Yeah, I think this is all pretty much just like session token stuff. I don't think this is anything that's... The session ID is JSON. I don't see the EY or anything, unless you were talking about the other cookie. Ah, there we go. I see an EY now. The Rails message. This is, it almost looks like a JWT, but there's this gobbledygook at the end. Oh, you know what? We need a URL decode. First. There's still, yeah, there's still this garbage. This may be the signature. I have a feeling that this is like a weird JavaScript web or JSON web token. Remember length extension of cats. I don't, so you should probably link something about it, Sar. Professor Math over here. God, I still hate these. I know you tried to teach them to me, and I still hate them. There's no way that it is signed with D5 hash. Okay, let's... Oh, it's called publish here? That's lame. I'm signed in, right? Yeah. Where's my... There it is. What's on your mind? Having a great time. Okay. Publish. And what I really want to do is see what that looks like as a request. Ah, yeah. Now we're looking at the good stuff. So when we post, this is what we post. Status in reply to ID is null. Media IDs, sensitive false, spoiler text. This is the stuff that I want to play with. For sure. Now let's actually reply to... This is a reply. I want to see how this differs, right, when I reply. So now we post. Ooh, we have two things. So we have a marker. Last read ID. And a status. Okay. So in reply to. So this is a reply, I assume, to the message ID. 109317. So if I go and click on that status, right? Copy link to post. And so having a great time was ended in 1120. Yeah. Okay. So that's the ID. That's the unique ID of the post. Which is interesting for a couple of reasons. Oh, dang. CISAGen joined infosec.exchange. Followed. But what I really want to know is if I go to my local, right? So copy link to post. And I really just want this ID. So if I go back to my request, right? And I change it to be in reply to that other ID. Does that work? 200. Okay. Yes. Looks good. And I get back. Ooh. Paragraph, it says. So I sent text and it returned an HTML. If I give it HTML, will it play? That's our next test. Why is this happening to me? Oh, I know why. I was like, why can't I operate my computer? It's because this is messed up. I got to go to panel and panel preferences and items, window buttons, properties, window grouping, never. There we go. And show button labels. Yeah. There we go. Now I know what I'm doing. I was like, I can't click on the thing that I want to click on. Okay, so I think I just replied to the honk, right? Posts and replies. Oh, interesting. No, it didn't work. Yeah, that's interesting. How do I already have... Oh, no, those are my followers. So it's like, what? Okay. Now, so that's interesting. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn on breakpointing. So basically, any of these requests, I'm going to break on the statuses. And so now when I post, Zap should pop. Yes. And I'm going to replace it with an H1 just to see if I can get an H1 going. I doubt it, because that's what everybody else is doing. But you never know. Ah, so you can see here what the filtering looks like, right? So it wrapped it in a paragraph. And then it did an HTML encode, right? Where we have, the LT and GT. So that's how it's handling that, which is why we're seeing. So that's actually interesting. That means that it's not so much. It's not so much that it's a text node. It's just that it's HTML encoded. Which gives me some hope here for some other stuff we might play with. Why? Oh, do I need to? Yeah, I said go. On your way. Okay, so that's interesting. Now, what happens when we attach an image? Yeah, let's go get the Enterprise F. Which is now canon. Very excited. All right, we'll upload this image, and we're going to add some alt text to this as well, just to see what we can do with that. Oh, that was... I didn't realize that was a surprise, Sar. Oh, yes, I am... I mean... Wait, no. There we go. Absolutely. There's no question about it. Luxury space communism. That's right. It's the best version. So again, when we publish, that should hit our breakpoint, which it does. So let's see, we have just an image here. Now, what's interesting is this is just the status. Spoiler text. So I want to try the spoiler text too. Now this should also be escaped. I doubt this is going to do anything. All right, we'll fire that off. The blur hash is... Okay, here we go. So this is us uploading the image. What does this look like? So the spoiler text, right? So now here comes the media attachments, right? So type is image. I wonder what other types you have access to. And now we have files, cybervillains, media attachments, files. Is this browsable? What's the endpoint it uploads images to? It's right here. It's local, so it's not doing S3, right? So you would hope that's not indexable. And all of this is... Look at... Oh, this is so interesting. Look carefully at what's going on here. Look at this path. You see that? This path is my post ID split into 3 digits. Right? That's really interesting. Okay. And then remote URL, null. Preview remote URL, null. I am going to add a remote URL of JavaScript. Text URL, same thing. And off you go. Now, how did that get rendered, right? So let's see. We posted this media attachments, right? Oh, that was media attachments there. So here, we just said just text here. And then here's our remote URL, preview remote URL. Oh, snap. Preview URL has to be where the thumbnail is coming, right? Can I mess with that? All right, well, let's go get a different enterprise, or a different ship. Let's go get the Defiant. Tough little ship. Oh yeah. Enterprise.svg. I'm not ready to go down the SVG rabbit hole. I'm much more interested in messing with the API, because I think that's where we're gonna find the unexpected stuff. You know what I mean? The text from picture. No, thank you. Okay. So again, we're gonna step forward here, and that gives us this. Okay, now the preview URL. This is what I want to. This is what I want to mess with. So I'm gonna go and see first if I can get it to point to a different image entirely. Perfect. Copy image address. And I'm going to put it there. Now, I think it won't work because of the content security policy. But could be wrong about that. Let's forward that all off. All 200s. Now, did that work or did it not work? So let's see. Today's good day, and then oh, so that was just the response. I thought it was another post. No wonder it didn't work. Yeah, I can't do anything with that. Unless Media IDs. So it uploads. I wonder. So if I get this back, and I get this media attachment back, right? Type images, URL. If I like hard code this into the original post, can I do something with that? Media attachments. Where's the... Yes. Okay. I want to try that again. So what I'm trying to do, hit publish here. All right, perfect. So now this is my image test, and what I want to do is I want to paste in the media attachment to see if it works, right? That I'm uploading this thing. It's an image, but I want to see the preview URL be totally different. This is already set, right? Okay, forward that off. Interesting. So it says no media attachments as a response, potentially because I had to upload it differently. Did that upload at all? Because this was the last one. Oh, God. Am I on a breakpoint? Okay. That was the problem. Oh, okay. So the image test didn't upload at all. Hey, GIF. Working on your OSCP. Thank you so much for the resub. I am sure that you will have a greater degree of success. Just remember, though, I mean, the OSCP is important, but just remember, I hope you're doing it for you, right? I want it to be a badge of accomplishment for yourself, something that you want to accomplish for you. What I don't want, I never like having the OSCP being like this thing that you have to do, right? I don't have one, and I do pen testing in web apps, but also some network stuff and Windows stuff. It's a hiring thing as much as anything else. It is not the only way to demonstrate your proficiency. I just want to make that clear to everybody. I have some certs. There was a point in my career where they were super important. They're not so much anymore. And, you know, it's funny, the ones that mattered most aren't the ones that you would have thought. Did really, with Windows AD enumeration, did the AD enumerate attack? Manifest? Oh, this is like to create the PWA, right? Yes. Say you create a web app on a phone. Actor. Cool. Well, Ferex Buster did a great job for us. Cross-domain misconfiguration. Eh. Okay, so we have some images coming in. Let's go back home. Pwn all the things seems to be happy on Mastodon. I know that I am. Let me go back to the local. The federated feed is a fire hose. I just want the local for cyber villains. Nobody else is doing anything right now. It's just all me. Okay, basic stuff. Let's try delete posts, right? So if we do a delete, I'm gonna turn on brakes and then delete this. Am I sure I want to delete it? Yes, but then we hit this breakpoint, and since ID equals 10, okay, so now we have this breakpoint, right? But I don't actually want to delete that post. I want to see if I can delete somebody else's post, right? So I'm going to get somebody else's ID. Copy link to post. Okay. And then put that in here. Timelines home since ID. I think that's wrong, actually. Nope, that was it. Exclude type equals file requests. Announcements. Okay, well, we can replay it. Whoa. So that's the status. That's interesting. So that wasn't the delete. Where'd the delete go? No, I turned brakes off. Oh, I gotta turn that breakpoint thing off. There we go. Are all there we go. So now I'm gonna delete this thing. And what does deletion look like? There's a delete. Okay, that was the one I was looking for and I didn't see before. So we're gonna replay that. And I'm gonna try to delete somebody else's status. Record not found. That is not the same thing as not allowed to do it. Record not found. Interesting. Okay, what happens if I just get all of the statuses? That didn't work. This is on a platform you stood up yourself. It's not, because I was really running into trouble with Docker making that happen. This is on cybervillains.com. That's not me. Alex Stamos of the Krebs Stamos group set this up specifically to let us go after it. I am authorized to do this. We tried to set it up in the lab, but unfortunately... it doesn't look like the Docker... there's something I'm missing about the Docker Compose setup for Mastodon. And rather than go through and play sysadmin to get it up and running, I will at some point learn more about how to do that. I'm much more interested in the web app side of this. So that's where we've been focusing. Okay, so there's just an emoji folder. And there's an avatars folder. Kind of interesting to see this back and forth. Okay, so things that we know. We know that I really feel like there's something interesting in the media uploads. Can you insert your own emoji? So every server has its own custom emoji. That's kind of that part I know. So if you put this in here, you can kind of see. Oh, there's nothing too crazy custom in there. Defiant is arguably my favorite Starfleet vessel. Ooh, boy. I have some thoughts. Mostly that Defiant would have murdered all of its crew. Because of the position of the warp nacelles. No, I like the Defiant. I just I have too many opinions that are meaningless about starship design. Yeah, Sar, I am interested too in the Federation component, and that's where we really need to dive into ActivityPub as much as anything, right? And learn how ActivityPub works, and it's kind of cool to see. So let me link this for everybody because it's a good bit of documentation. So ActivityPub provides two layers: a server-to-server federation protocol, so decentralized websites can share information, and a client-to-server protocol, so users can communicate with ActivityPub using their accounts on servers. So that's kind of like what we've been doing, is we've been posting to a specific server, and then the server itself federates with any of the servers that it's connecting to, right? And shares that information with other servers with which it's federated. A user is represented by actors via the user's accounts on servers. Users' accounts on different servers correspond to different actors. Every actor has an inbox and an outbox. These are endpoints, just URLs which are listed in the ActivityPub's actors activity streams description, which kind of relates to what we saw in actor, right? Because when we looked at, yeah, we saw actor. Right, here's your context. Manually approves. Properties of the actor. So this is the cybervillain server as actor, I believe, is basically the way that we think about that. Because remember that the server works as an actor insofar as it sends information from it to other servers, right? So like it itself has an inbox and outbox. It's a way more busy inbox and outbox than any given user, but it's the same basic idea. We got a public key. Oh, that's so interesting. So do I have an actor? No. Whoops. I'll tell you what I do have, though, which I think is kind of cool. Oh, I should have done this first. If you put a .json at the end of anybody's profile, yeah, I think this is it. This is the actor. There we go. So this is the actor description for me. Right? Yes. And look at this. So you have endpoints. The shared inbox is the cybervillains.com inbox, which means that that is where I send stuff, I guess. I will also note that if you put a .rss at the end of it, you get a user's RSS feed. So if you did want to follow people on Mastodon, but just get them in an RSS feed, you can just do that by adding .rss to the end of a user's profile. Okay, so this JSON is the actor that we were talking about here in that ActivityPub scheme. ActivityPub uses activity streams for its vocab. It's likely that activity streams already includes all the vocab you need, but even if it doesn't, activity streams can be extended via JSON-linked data. Okay. I have more to learn about that. So you can post to someone's inbox to send them a message that's server to server, and that's federation, right? You can get from your inbox to read your latest messages. You can post to your outbox to send messages to the world. And then you can get from someone's outbox to see what messages they've posted. So that's why... Interesting, okay. Yes. Right, and this is very similar to what we were just seeing. Neat. Okay, and there's a lot more to this spec as well, obviously, which I'm not going to go read through at the moment. Okay, other stuff that you can do here. Let's go to preferences and go check out. Oh, the advanced web interface is fun, but I don't actually think that is useful for us. Oh, good. We can enable dark mode. Sigh. Much better. The advanced web interface is... actually, I will enable it, because there's some stuff in there I want to test. The advanced web interface is like... TweetDeck. Wait, did I not enable it? I forgot to hit save, didn't I? There we go. Yeah, so the advanced interface is like TweetDeck, where I can search for something like, let's say, pixel art. Yeah, that should be fine. And I can then pin that column. And then move that over. And I can include additional tags. Let's add Masto art. And I'm going to exclude NSFW for obvious reasons. Okay, I guess I couldn't find that, which is just fine by me. Okay. And now, let's see what all of that did. It's a card. The cards are interesting. Because, like, okay, here's why the cards are interesting. I just saw that. I'm thinking about ways that you can inject stuff that it's not designed to handle. Thinking sort of along the lines of, I don't know if you remember the Teams research that happened, not my team's research, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point, where basically the way that GIFs were handled was that you could inject URLs a different way, and basically you could get it to resolve a UNC path and then use responder to get NTLM hashes off Teams. That was one, but there was another one where you could... can't remember if it was cross-site scripting, but basically what I'm trying to do is, since this application is loading data elsewhere, and I kind of know how it's doing it, can we do it in a malicious way? So, give you an idea. So this is my post here, right? So if I create a card for this, right? So let me get out of my search here, create post. And I put this in, and I hit publish. What this should do is generate a preview card. It did, right? See that? How did it do that? This is the same way that it works in Twitter, as well as Facebook and LinkedIn. the way that's happening is that the page actually has some metadata that's configured to make that happen, and I had to write this in. It's part of the template, but I still have to write it in to make it happen. So here you have, like, this is the OG URL, and then Twitter. It's the Twitter stuff here, and then depending on which of these meta tags the platform is designed to pull, it pulls them to create the preview, right? So there's a Twitter image, Twitter card, and here is how the description works. So if we go and look, I'm really curious if oh yeah, there it was. Yep, there's the card. So, interrogating bias, and then it says when you're trying to catch the bad guys, you can't let your own brains. So notice that the author and all this stuff hasn't been put in there, which kind of it should be. Oh, it's because I don't have the author in here. I have the URL and I have the description. So that's my question. If I put in a malicious author, will it pull it and do something evil with it? How would we find that out? With Replit, of course. Yup, it's me. Okay. Let's go make an evil card. Yeah, whatever. All right, so we're gonna basically put in this meta stuff. And I have a feeling that it's pulling the OG rather than the Twitter stuff, just based on what I was seeing there. And so right, when we looked at this, we saw URL, description, author name, author URL, provider name, provider URL. Those weren't there, but the URL and description were. So the Twitter site and creator were not honored, but the OG stuff was. So that's what I'm going to stick to. Yes. Okay. Later days Twitter stuff. Okay. So this is the real question. Can I create what is it? I want author URL. And now this is live, right? I'll tell you what, I'll even give it a different image. We'll point it to the Defiant image. Why not? Okay. Run that. That's all good. And now we're going to take this, because this is a live URL, by the way. Right? God, I love Replit. It's so good at what it does. Just kidding. It should be. There it is. That took a second, but okay, so it's up. So now, I'm going to put this in, and what I want to see happen is the card pull correctly. So notice that the Defiant preview pulled in, right? Now, let's take a look. If I look at my timelines here. New site. Let's look at the card. So it still didn't pull the author URL. It did pull the URL, and it pulled the title. Now, can I modify the title in such a way? Because how is it rendered? I mean, maybe it's HTML encoded, but maybe it isn't. You know what I mean? So now, this might be cached. We'll see. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. The HUD is on. No. No. Never. So the trick, though, is that this caches pretty effectively. So I'm going to have to empty the cache, relog in. Or not. I probably should have changed the title. Yeah, so that's cached in there pretty good. But if I post it again, who knows what'll happen. So that posted, but it didn't generate the preview, because that happens. If you post again, the Defiant Crew die. Oh, interesting. So that kept the same. OG title. Now it's pulling from this. I wonder if that's it. I wonder if that's what it is. In which case, we should put this here, or try to make that our card entry. Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, so if we reload this again, does this change? All right, I'm going to knock these off because they're not helping me, and I want to see the new version of the... Well, that happened right away. But what's interesting about that is I did hit run again, didn't I? There's no part of this that is saying interrogating virus, so it must be... Can I rename it? I can rename it, but I'd rather not. And again, if we go to the timeline, we see where's the card? So the URL is here. It still says title. And that's not the title anymore, right? We changed that. These cache pretty seriously, I think. Might be using the URL as a key. I mean, maybe. So that, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? If multiple people post the same thing, then it doesn't have to reproduce work. That's a good point. Bit Diplo. So we'll make it something else. Now it's Evil Card 2. Okay, well, progress. We're seeing the we're seeing the correct card data here. Now it is rendered as a text node, so or it's HTML encoded. So that is good, I guess. It's good from a security perspective. It's bad for me trying to find something fun. Timeline's home. This is the one. It's nice that I'm getting a feel for the API, though. Come on. I shouldn't have followed anybody. I've got all their content that I have to go through. So this has H1. Interesting. Oh, no. So that's really interesting. Because it's not HTML encoded, right? So what's happening to that? It has to be rendered as a text node. That's the only option I can come up with, right? But it's not though. It has to be HTML encoded in the JavaScript then, because it's not in the JSON, right? That must be happening at a different point. But okay, so we have to delete that because now that's cached and we'll never see it again, or we'll never see it change again. So here's the URL. So now the question is, can I make the URL cart3 be legitimately evil? This may be a very naive thing to try. All right, so let's see where that shows up in the timeline. Oh my God. Stop scrolling for 1 second. So that URL isn't doing anything. It's just setting this up. Right, and it doesn't have author name, author URL, provider name, provider URL. None of that is set. And I can't imagine that it would do anything anyway. At least not in this platform. Can you give it an author URL? I thought I had, but we'll try it again. With a different meta tag. Yeah. I believe that I had... So I have the OG author URL right here. I was already trying that. I just don't think it's doing anything. Unless it's supposed to be... Here we go. How do I provide author details? Could you give a summary of what you're trying to do here? I could try, MF Consumer. So basically, we have this site, cybervillains.com, which is a Mastodon instance that Alex Stamos has spun up and has invited folks to try to hack on it. So what we're trying to do is try to find anything that might be interesting from a security perspective. And where I'm kind of diving in right now is the URL preview feature. Generally speaking, the way that Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook, the way that all of those sites do that is that your post, your page that it's pulling from has to have some metadata in there that generates the card of the preview. So just to show you, this is some metadata from my blog, right? And it's showing like the Twitter stuff, and then OG is for Open Graph. And that is what obviously Mastodon is using to generate the data. So my question was, can we poison that in any way? And so far, it seems like no. Of course, IndieWeb has something about it. Require properties. Gravatar uses it. Interesting. Ooh. Author.url. I wonder if that's it. You know, I hate to say it, but actually the Twitter card, this actually helps. Because this is how I learned how to do this in the first place. Yeah, it's gonna be a summary card thing. Creator. Yeah. Okay, so this is the optional metadata. Here we go. Site underscore name. Structured properties. Video. But we saw that it was structured. I wonder if it is author.url. I'm going to try it. We'll turn that to evil card 4. Okay. Run. And let's post that. Feel free to show me my thing. Okay. So it loaded, and what I want to see is timelines home. This right here. Boy, I really should have followed somebody who wasn't as prolific. Nope. I don't know if we get to set that up. Oh, happy anniversary, Sar. 12 months. Wow. Wow, wow. All right, we've been diving on this for a minute and we're not getting anywhere, so I think it's time to move on to something else. I gotta bounce soon anyway, but I do want to see what else we can play with here. Oh yeah, so this is kind of cool. So let's add a hashtag. So that adds. I want to see what that looks like in get tags pixel art. What? A search with a query. Well. that goes right into here. Actually, hold on, stop. We don't have to guess what the DBMS is. We know that it's Postgres. I mean, it was a long shot. Always worth a shot, though. But in addition, so there's this tags. This comes in. Okay. Maybe play with file uploads. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I mean, the thing is, it's not like I can upload a web shell. What the way that would maybe go at all would be like Ruby serialization, and I just don't think we're there. So, if there's anything else immediately that we can. Oh, we should. Uh-oh, I've been rate limited. SQL map got me. I have to say, you know, from a first blush, I don't think this is too bad looking. I'm sure there's stuff in there that needs improvement. I'm sure there's some fun things. But honestly, I think the bigger issue is about performance rather than security. And there are some choices that the platform has made, just in terms of privacy, that aspect of security. So, for example, one of the things that Mastodon has, most of them by choice is, and by design, is that you can search your own messages, but you cannot search other people's messages. And that's by design, right? Because the idea is like, yeah, not everybody's data is up for you to index, you know? So that's been actually a big contention point, because it's like, well, I can't search for other people's content. How do I find what they're saying? Yeah, exactly. How do you? So on Mastodon, the culture is you have to use hashtags a lot more because hashtags are searchable. But the raw text of other people's messages is not. And I think that's a really interesting choice. Just like there's no quote tweeting, basically. I think that's an interesting choice too. And so those are like the security and privacy aspects of it. But from an application security perspective, this, I mean, it's Rails, right? It's a Rails app. It feels like a Rails app. It feels like I'm bouncing up against a Rails app that's designed well and didn't do anything dumb. The API looks okay. It looks well designed. We can probably test more on access control, you know, seeing API endpoints that maybe we can get to. without cookies. Also know that it has these X rate limit headers. That's really cool. How is it moderated? Is that the responsibility of the node owners? Yes, it is. That's right. So every instance is a community, and community requires participation. The moderators, in conjunction with the people who are on it, in some cases, depending on how that community chooses to organize itself, moderates, right? So there was a really interesting situation that happened before this massive wave came in, which is that like a year ago, I think, the alt-right social media platform called Gab rebased itself on Mastodon. And Mastodon's open source. So there's nothing that stops Nazis from doing that, right? You can do that. But what happened was, very organically, that most of the rest of the Fediverse decided to block that entire instance. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that you can do, like if I'm here and I don't like what I'm seeing from mastodon.social, I can block the domain as an individual user. But if enough people in a community can say to their mod, like, hey, we're not comfortable with what we're seeing from this instance, the mods will cut it off. And what happened is enough instances did that with the Gab instance that they eventually cut themselves off from the rest of the Fediverse. So like they had their own little Nazi enclave over there, but they were no longer causing trouble for other people. Now, I know some folks argue that that's worse because they're not exposed to the light. I don't agree with that. Yeah, I think that the energy for a lot of those folks comes from the opposition that they experience when they go out into public. And if you take that away from them, then I think that they run out of some steam. I do think that that's the... Yeah, so sorry, same page. I agree with you. I know that there's some people who are like, oh, but it's worse. No, that's wrong. It's definitely better to isolate them. So... Yeah, the argument like, oh, they're only going to get more radicalized. No, that's happening either way. So yes, to answer your question, moderation is the responsibility of different instances organize differently. So this is the thing about the Fediverse, right? Is that it's not a product, right? It is a project. And I mean that not just in the software sense, but it's a project as in the community is the work of many. It requires your effort to find people to follow. It requires your good faith effort to participate in a meaningful and respectful way to make it good for everybody, right? Because there is no content moderation god that is going to do everything for everybody. And, by the way, that also means, on the flip side, that there can be more moderation for certain things, right? Things that Twitter, for example, would just leave alone may not happen in your instance. For example, just as a one that kind of rubs me the wrong way, but I get why. The instance I'm on, you are only allowed to post in English. That kind of sucks, but I also understand why, from a moderation standpoint, you might want to have a rule like that. Now, I follow people who write in French. And that's fine. I can find those people and see what they're saying. And I'm excited to be exposed to different cultures and different languages. And that's a choice that you can make. So there's a lot more to it than just receiving content, and then receiving ads. And then also getting angry because it turns out that driving engagement, which is what social media platforms want, is just code for keeping you angry all the time, right? Because angry means you're engaged. The outrage engine isn't there. It just isn't there. So I don't know. I didn't want to turn this into more proselytizing for the Fediverse. But I'm like legitimately excited about this moment because this is kind of the internet that we always wanted, that it is a community project. If your instance blocks the domain, is it possible for you to see that content? If your instance blocks the domain, then your account on that instance can no longer see that content. You would have to go create another account on another instance that is federated there. That's the point, right? Because the instance has to create a situation in which your activity cannot put that content into other people's local feed, right? So like you cannot reblog or boost. You can't be able to put that in front of somebody else if the instance has been blocked. All right, this has been a fun but long first stream back. I'm sorry that we weren't able to spin up the instance to play with our own, but I'll keep working on that and see what we can do to see what it looks like under the hood. But cybervillains.com is available if you want to play with it and hack on it some. I certainly recommend that you do so. But for now, I think we're going to call it. I am going to be back, of course, on Saturday doing some more Blue Team stuff. A little bit more of a traditional stream on that day. And don't forget, of course, that there are many hackers on the InfoSec streams list. I don't know why I forgot how to do that. Hack list. We Are Legion. Please go check them out. Nobody that I know is streaming right now, so I am going to leave you to enjoy your evening or very early morning if you're crazy and in the EU. But until next Saturday, friends, please be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking. I will see you next time. It's great to be back.